but hopefully it's a feedback where we know that the hotel can benefit from. So, all right. Well, you know what? We've come into our first half hour of our little show right here. And to those who are joining in, I mean, you know, we've got Drew, who's in Serbia right now, and he's been to 15 Maldivian resorts. 15, 1-5, guys, 1-5. And so, Drew, I know that we can talk forever, and I know that you probably prepared your little notes on your own. But if I could ask,
I'll show you.
I could ask you.
Here's my notepad.
There you go. Yeah. If I could ask you to go from your, I don't want to say, when I say least favorite, it sounds so negative, but if you were to rank them from the bottom up, you know, let's start from the bottom and then let's end this segment with, this is your most favorite and this is the reason why. So, you know, if you can share what you like about each property and maybe what you don't like, if you have any status and what kind of perk you got, etc., what kind of upgrade. I mean, those are the things I would like, if you don't mind sharing. All right.
I'll try.
Yeah.
I'll try. By far, my least favorite property is Angsana. Angsana is part of Accor. The reason I didn't like it is I didn't care for the staff. When you go to the Maldives, the staff is generally so excellent. You've never seen anything like it before. It's fabulous how friendly they are, what they do for you. You literally don't have to lift a finger.
I have to agree.
Yeah, and Angsana, it was a tired staff. They were there just to collect a paycheck. They didn't care if you were there or not. It seemed to me that they were, you know, doing the job for 20 years, the same people, and they just didn't interact with me at all. I go to the Maldives. I don't go swimming in the ocean. I don't go scuba. I don't snorkel. I don't go out in the sun. Why do I go to the Maldives? I don't like the beach. Why do I go to the Maldives? I go because of the service. It's so world class, and it's so neat to see these different properties and what they're all doing. Angsana, I didn't feel that. If I went there the first time, and I probably never would go again. Next up would be the Banyan Tree. I do not have status with Accor. In general don't like any Accor properties, even Raffles, even Fairmont. I don't like any of them. Next up would be Banyan Tree, which is also Accor, and I found a similar thing there. Banyan Tree, just a little bit nicer property. I had a pool in my backyard. They had stingray feeding on the beach every day. The nicest person I met at either one of these properties was a guy sweeping sand off the pier. We were out walking one night looking at fish, and he was kind of doing the same thing. He goes, "Hey, come look over here. Here's what, you know, on this side, it's this fish," and he gave the name and everything. And when we checked out the next day, I told the front desk manager, I said, "Hey, here's your nicest employee." And she looked, and it's like, "What are you talking about? He's the janitor or whatever." I said, he's the only person who's spoken to me here. The rest of you, no one else has even spoken to me. So those are the two properties I do not like. Okay, I can say I definitely don't recommend them.
Booked on points, because I know I think you and I chatted a couple years ago. Was it or
no? Okay, it was another one of these, like, similar to Travel Zoo, but it was actually a direct booking. And what they were doing is they were giving you 2 nights for the price of one, and they were giving you a free boat ride, and they were giving you, you know, a 1-room upgrade, things like this. And that was directly through, at that time, I think it was directly through Banyan Tree itself. Banyan Tree is a branch of Accor, but it's kind of operates separately. And so they're able to offer their own promotions. So it'd be kind of like if Waldorf can offer their own promotions outside of Hilton. So I paid cash on those. At the Banyan Tree, it was $750 for 2 nights. At Angsana, it was $500 for 2 nights. And they were selling these during COVID. So
I'm not sure if Daniel Rodriguez is watching us or listening to us right now, but didn't he say Angsana?
Okay, yes. But there are 2 Angsanas. The one he stayed at, you fly to, he really enjoyed it. I talked to him about it.
Okay.
The one I stayed at is right next to the Banyan Tree, which is a boat ride, and I didn't like it at all. I was ready to get out of there. Moving up. Right. Yeah. Okay. Moving up, I got to think, because we're combining all these. And from here on up, I can recommend all of them. So even if you come in number 13, I still would recommend you as a good hotel to go to. And I guess number 13, I would put Sheraton. But Sheraton again has a real benefit in that you get that free boat ride, and you can, if you get these free certificates with your credit cards, if you get 40,000, 50,000,
Mhm.
you're probably, I was able to book it on a 40,000 point per
Right.
certificate, but you probably can't get it that low, but you might be able to, what Marriott's letting you do now is if you have 40,000 and the hotel's 52,000, they'll let you use the certificate, add on 12,000 of your own points, and you can stay there for free.
You know what? And I'm glad you mentioned that because, you know, one of my other trusted travel partner, friend here, Michael Cito, he and I were chatting yesterday because of that new Marriott credit card, the Boundless card with the five
Yeah.
free night certificates. And you and I chatted about this a couple years ago. Um, if you look at the offer terms and details, it says it is not to be combined with any other points. And so 10x Travel caught on that. So was warning folks that if you get these certificates for 50K, you can't top it off with an extra 15,000 points. Points guy on the other hand was saying you can top it off. I don't have my own experience. I think before we went to Hawaii, I tried to top off my 50K certificates and I don't think it worked. But then again, I was not conscientious of what was going on. So but I think, you know, I'd like to explore that because to your point, if it does work, you can use your existing Marriott points, for instance, and top off your 50K certificate and get a good resort. To your point, like a Sheraton, for instance, right? So something I definitely
Yeah.
for everybody to keep in mind that I'm going to look into it further.
Yeah, Sheraton, what else I'd say about it, it's a good place for families. It has lots of kids activities. They have a kids club, they have ice cream, they have some games like ping pong, foosball, things like this. And they really do try to make a nice effort for children. I sent you the schedule when I was there, and they have activities all day long for
Right.
families. Um, it's older. It's a natural island. It needs a refresh, but I think their occupancy is doing so well they don't want to shut it down right now because they don't want to take away that revenue stream. And there's nothing wrong with it. I would recommend it. If someone asked me, should I go? I'd say sure.
Right.
If someone said, is there a better place for me to go? I'd say, yeah, there's a better place for you to go. But if they said either I'm going to Sheraton or I'm not, I'd say go to Sheraton.
Right.
Moving up, I'm not going to be perfect order, but let's say that the next one is going to probably,
Right.
yeah, the next one's probably going to surprise you, and it's JW Marriott.
Oh.
And the JW Marriott is a very nice property, but similar with Accor, and this is the only other place I've run into this other than Accor. It's not that I did not like the staff. I'd say at the Accor properties, I did not like the staff. What I would say at JW Marriott, the staff seemed like they were working in fear. And to me, that comes from management. They just weren't happy. They were on edge. Like they weren't allowed to talk to customers. It just seemed like a really eerie feeling.
Right.
And that said, the villa they gave us is the nicest villa I've ever seen in the Maldives. It was a beautiful 2-story. The food was fine. They didn't serve sparkling wine at breakfast, which is pretty unusual in the Maldives. And when I asked them about it, they said, no, we've never done that. We're not going to do that. And I said, okay, well, you're the only property in Marriott. And they go, oh, that's not true. And I said, I've been to every property, okay? I've drank sparkling wine for breakfast at every property. You can tell me it's not true. I know at some point in time it was true.
Right.
I don't want to say too much more about it, but I didn't like the location. It's way up north. The seas were kind of open seas, like they had actually breakwaters around the complex, and it was rough. We saw a really rough storm. We didn't sleep very well there because
Right.
of the storms. But the villa, great. I just didn't get a good vibe when I was there.
Right.
Would I recommend it? Maybe it was just me, but maybe someone else would say, "Oh my God, this is the
Right.
nicest property I've ever been to."
And
So
it's always good to have this caveat that when you are giving a recommendation or I'm giving a recommendation, everything is subjective, right? Because this was Drew's experience, this is Jason's experience. It doesn't mean that if we loved it or if we hated it, that it's also going to happen to you. I mean, we all will experience
right.
Definitely. So just I want to make sure that everyone keeps that in mind. Drew, before we go to the next hotel, to the folks who, Drew, you mentioned the Sheraton is not so much in the bottom of the list, but really it's it's a good resort that you would recommend. Just randomly, I looked at the month of September, 41,000 Marriott points.
There you go.
Okay, and again, you know, I'm assuming this is like more of an off-season, off-peak,
Yes.
right?
The two. If you want to go to the Maldives in the two slow months, one is May and one is September. May, the storms were really bad. September, I've been a couple times. I saw storms 2-3 days out of the month, but not like I saw in May. This year, maybe this year was extremely bad, but May, hands down, has more storms than September.
Gotcha.
But we still had some nice days. I mean, half the time we were there was quite nice.
Right. Okay, so after the JW, what would be next?
I'd probably go to the Park Hyatt, and I'd say similar with Sheraton. It's old. I think it's about a 17-year-old resort. It's on a natural island. You have to take a domestic flight, and then you have to take a boat over open ocean, which is kind of rough. They do some really good things there. It's a nice property, but compared to the ones that have been built in the last 5 years, it just can't stack up. It needs some help. The staff is very good. I went there on a TravelZoo voucher. This is right when, I don't know if you remember, TravelZoo stopped publishing for 2 or 3 months because of COVID.
Right.
And I guess so many people contacted them and said, hey, we still want to read about it. You know, maybe we can't go, but give us something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And that's when they came out with these fully refundable deals, which what I'm seeing now is these are pretty much gone. They're not doing these anymore.
Yeah.
It's like now they're.
You're right.
Right?
I think ever since I returned from the Maldives, I don't see the fully refundable stuff anymore. I see where if you purchase it, you've got 14 days. You know.
Right.
You know that I've. Right. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Well, anyway, I bought this voucher. It was $2,500 for 5 nights. It did not include the domestic flight. I had to pay that. That was another $550, I think, out of pocket. But what was nice about it is they gave you a half board, so you had dinner every night, and then they did recognize with Globalist, they gave us a room upgrade, and they gave us a 1-hour cocktail hour, and I liked it a lot. One of the really neat things they did when we checked in, waiting at the room for us were 2 spa therapists, and while we were checking in, while we were signing papers, we're sitting on the couch and they're giving us a foot massage, and that's something I'd never seen before. The other nice thing was at breakfast every day. Again, I don't know if they do this all the time or just when they're slow or whatever. It was pretty low occupancy when I was there. At breakfast, they set up a chair and give you a neck and shoulder massage for 5 minutes. You just have to walk over, and they're trying to sell you a package. Of course, when they're massaging you, they'll talk to you, but they also say you don't have to buy it. You can come here every day. It's no problem.
Right.
It's part of your package. The thing about the Park Hyatt too, we said before, a lot of people have this idea of these overwater villas when they go to the Maldives. I would say the overwater villas at the Park Hyatt are not that good. I would much prefer to stay on land.
Okay.
And so for that reason, I put it lower. Still a nice place.
Gotcha. And Park Hyatt and the Maldives, I think I overheard you mention that it's not only an older property, but it feels more of a natural than the others. I mean, can you, especially to those who've never been, because there are those that look kind of man-made, right?
Yeah.
So describe.
It's about half. The ones that you see on Instagram that are like picture perfect, those are man-made. The natural islands have had trees growing there for, I don't know, maybe 100 years. They have bats flying around the fruit trees because they eat the fruit from the palm. And they just, the foliage is the thing you notice the most.
Exactly.
Okay. And things aren't like pristine, laid out exactly right. Villas aren't spaced perfectly between each other. There might be one here, there might be one kind of crooked pointing the other direction. They've developed it with what nature gave them to work with. When you have a man-made resort, you can create it in any way you want.
Right.
And your only limit is your budget.
Right. Okay. So after Park Hyatt, what would it be?
Let's go Le Méridien.
Okay.
Le Méridien next. Le Méridien, neat place, brand new.
Brand new.
Hasn't even been open a year
About
yet.
a year old.
Yeah. Yeah, they opened, I think, September 1st of last year.
Right.
It's a nice place. I had to push a little bit to bring them up to the level of what I expect when I go to the Maldives. And what I mean by that, back to the sparkling wine at breakfast. I said, I met the F&B manager who I knew from a previous resort, and he was happy to see me, and we got along really well. And I saw some other people I knew from other resorts, and I said, hey, you don't have sparkling wine for breakfast? And they go, oh, let me check. And then they go talk to the manager. They're like, oh, yeah, you're titanium. No problem. We'll bring it for you every day. Stuff like that. I had to ask about the photo session. They don't like advertise it. They don't tell you about it when they check in. I had to stay on my, they don't call it a concierge there. They call it like a curator or something like that. And I had to ask 3-4 times. And I only asked because I had the knowledge from staying at other resorts. If I showed up there without knowing any better, I'd say, okay, that's fine. You know, whatever your guys' policy is. But I knew what they could and should be doing that they weren't quite doing. And when I pushed them a little bit, they did it. That said, the first room they assigned us was a beach villa, which was actually more expensive than overwater villa. And it had absolutely the stupidest room layout I have ever seen. Yeah, there were 2 outdoor showers. All the bathroom facilities were outdoors, which is not ideal if you get up in the middle of the night to do whatever you need to do. But there were 2 outdoor showers, and one of them was actually enclosed in glass.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it's like they gave you one set of shampoo. So if you want to use one shower, you got to go in the other one, get it, carry your shampoo.
Wasn't it also an outdoor bath, or maybe I'm
yeah, outdoor toilet, yeah. And I wear glasses, and you're inside in the air conditioning. And if I don't wear glasses, I'm going to fall. I can't see anything. And the minute you go outside in the Maldives, your glasses are just a cloud. It's just like the heaviest cloud cover you've ever seen, and you can't see where you're going. And it's 3 a.m.
Right.
They moved us. They actually, it's not because I complained about the room, but they actually said, hey, after 3 days, we're probably going to move you to an overwater villa if you want to experience that. And we said, yeah, okay, let's take a look at it. Well, this is before we got in our first room. We got in that first room, and I said, this is awful, you know. And after I met the resort manager, after a couple of days, I was just walking one night and I ran into him. He goes, hey, how's everything? I said, yeah, it's pretty good here. It's pretty good. I said, but man, who designed these rooms? It's like a dropout from architecture school designed this villa. He's like, what? I go, come take a look at it. And I showed him, and he goes, yeah, that is pretty stupid. But then they moved us to overwater, and the overwater was brilliant. It was just a great room, a very well designed room. It didn't have a pool, but it was a very well designed room, and it was nice and shallow water. I saw so many people out swimming there, because I think probably at low tide, the water might have only been like 3 feet deep, and then high tide, maybe 5 feet deep. So it's a great place to swim off of your overwater villa.
Very nice.
So that's Le Méridien.
And before you,
yeah.
Le Méridien, I was just, again,
points.
Check.
I did that.
Yeah, as far as,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just for the folks who want to know that April of next year, I saw a random date, 49,000 points at Le Méridien. And so tying it all together with this new credit card, the Boundless card, you can use your 50K certificate at a place like Le Méridien. And if there are 4 or 5 nights straight, you can use those certificates towards a property like this. Okay, continue.
Right. And I booked it last year. It was 30,000 points. It was one of the best deals there was.
Right.
And it's one of the properties that was allowed to overcompensate this year on its move up the ladder. There were several properties that were allowed to move their rates up by 20,000. A lot of them were in the Maldives. The Ritz Carlton was, the St. Regis was, and Le Méridien was. And so Le Méridien, even though they don't have a chart anymore, Le Méridien was allowed to essentially go from 30,000 to 50,000 on the day that they went to dynamic pricing.
Jeff,
okay.
Check April 23rd. It looks like April 23rd, another date where the rates are low. Drew, before we cross over, because I know that one of the properties that are cheaper in points rates are the Sheraton and the Le Méridien. What kind of, don't you get an option if you have status at the Marriott or I think if you are a Marriott Platinum Elite or something, you get free breakfast. You
Yeah.
get that option, right?
You get free breakfast. The only property that does not give you free breakfast out of all these I'm telling you about, if you have status, is the Ritz Carlton. And the Ritz Carlton, I'm going to come to it, but that's one of only two negative things I have to say about the Ritz Carlton. Everywhere else, if you have status, whether it's Hilton Gold, whether it's the InterContinental gives free breakfast to everybody on the property. The Alila gives free breakfast to everybody on the property. A lot of the hotels just include that as part of your package.
Right. There's
So,
there is a question, and maybe we can hold it off towards the end. But if you would recommend buying points to stay in the Maldives, and perhaps not only recommend or not recommend, but if you have an example, I think that would always
yeah,
that would always,
I
because I think
yeah,
a few posts ago there was a question about the Conrad Maldives, and I think you gave
right.
example. So let's table that for a second. Let's move up the ladder. But I want to make sure we come back to that question later. All right.
Okay, I'm going to move a little bit quicker because we're
Yeah,
getting. I got a time limit here too. I
I
only get
know.
an hour in the boardroom.
I mean,
So,
but it's good.
um,
Go ahead.
yeah. Okay, so from Le Méridien, I guess the next one I put in there would be Sai Lagoon, which is a Hilton property. I love it, but it's not your Instagram worthy resort of the Maldives. It's very close to the city. From almost anywhere on the island, you can see Male. It's 85,000 points a night. I bought travel zoo packages for these. It was $1,000 5 nights. I mentioned it earlier in our talk. I love the place. I love the people there, but I've been there four times. I've been there, stayed 20 nights. I know everybody. It makes a big difference. One of the things I like about it, it's an island that's got a marina, and in the marina they have gift shops, they have restaurants, they have a Hard Rock Cafe. I'm wearing my Hard Rock shirt here. I don't know if you can see it. And they have a separate resort,
Waco.
a totally separate resort. That is the Hard Rock Hotel. And I love the Hard Rock Hotel too. A lot of people, if they had been to the 15 resorts I mentioned, they would put Sai Lagoon lower. I put it higher because of the staff. I
Good.
know them very, very well.
Big difference. Yeah, that makes a big.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, moving up from there. Probably next I'd go with Alila.
The new
Alila
one.
is
The one that you just.
yeah, the new one. Yeah, it's a nice place, but it didn't wow me. What I liked most about it was the architecture of the building. When we talked before, I said it reminded me of Frank Lloyd Wright, who I'm a huge fan of. But at the same time, for as new of a property as it is, they didn't do something that was just exceptional, and you say, "Wow, I can't believe this. This is heaven on earth." It's good. The staff was great. I have no complaints. I asked them, "You guys don't have a happy hour?" You start to see this theme with me, right? And they go, "Okay, you're a globalist. Sure, we'll give you 3 drinks each every night." And to me, I'm like, "That's great. Yeah, okay, I can't complain. That's great." So I liked it. I recommend it at the prices they're charging. I don't recommend it for the points. If I had to choose between points between Park Hyatt and Alila, I'd choose Alila just because it's newer, it's nicer.
Gotcha.
It's also on a natural island, and they've done a little bit more with it because they have newer building techniques. They have newer designs now, and so they have the advantage of building 17 years after the Park Hyatt.
And at the time
Um,
of the visit, the overwater villas weren't open yet, right?
they were not open. In fact, I don't think they're open now. I think they're going to open in August.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
Okay.
okay. Next, I guess I'd say the InterContinental. The InterContinental is a newish property. I think it's 3 or 4 years old. Very nice overwater villa, which they gave me on a standard points redemption. 120,000 IHG points per night. And if you have the credit card, you get the fourth night free. And if you have both credit cards, you get a 10% points rebate. So it was 360,000 for 4 nights, and I got 36,000 back. I think that's an exceptionally good deal when you can buy IHG points for half cent a point. Right now they don't have that deal, but normally they have it half cent a point. And the cash price when we went was something like $1,200 a night. So you're getting 1 cent per point, which is very, very good value when you can buy them for half a cent and then you get that fourth night free. The thing I really liked about the InterContinental is they stocked the mini bar with non-alcoholic and snacks. every day. And so the other thing is all the non-alcoholic drinks and they have like an afternoon tea. All that's included with your rate. Doesn't matter what status you have.
That's good.
They call it club intercontinental. If you go to lunch, if you go to dinner, if you order off the menu, you have to pay. But you get enough snack options plus your breakfast that along the day, I never felt any urge to buy dinner. And they have a happy hour for from 4 to 6. It's open to everybody. A lot of the people who were there when I was there, this was in January, were Russian. This is before their conflict started, and they were all on all-inclusive packages. So when people are on all-inclusive, there's not that mad rush to go to afternoon tea. There's not that mad rush to go to happy hour, because you can get whatever you want any time of the day. Next one, let's go with Conrad. Conrad has done a rehab. I've not been there since.
Right.
Conrad is, let's go to this points question. Conrad, I booked on points. Conrad was my very first resort in the Maldives, and I had no intention of going to the Maldives more than one time. We went to the Conrad. We booked it for 7 days. I used 2 weekend certificates and I used 5 nights. At that point in time, it was 95,000 points a night. So it was 380,000 points with the 5th night free plus the 2 weekend certificates. Had to pay for the seaplane. But we got there, and a couple days before we left, I said to Ching, I bet when we get there, I wish we only did 3 or 4 nights. I don't know what in the world we're going to do in 7 nights. And the time flew by. We had so much fun. At that time, I actually did go in the ocean since it was my first time there. It was fun. Conrad, at that time, the basic room wasn't over water. I don't know if it still is. I made friends at the Conrad who are still my friends today, who I still occasionally see either at other resorts or in Male. We stay in contact on social media. Great property. When I was there, I had breakfast with the GM every day. I went to the smaller restaurant. He did too. He sat at the next table. We talked every morning. This is when the underwater villa opened, which was $50,000 a night. That's exactly when we were there. And it's 3 or 4 night minimum. I think it's a 4 night minimum. And one guest was there, says, hey, I got 50,000 cash. Can I stay there for 1 night? They called the owner of the Conrad. They said, yeah, okay, go ahead. And so the next morning at breakfast, I'm talking to Stefano, who's the GM, and he says, I go, hey, what'd the guests think? And he said, I guess they're pretty happy. And I said, you're never going to allow that again, though, just that 1 night. And he said, yeah, he wanted to be the first one to sleep there. But he said, actually, I was the first one to sleep there. I slept there 3 nights ago to give it a test run. So, but Conrad, great property. Even now, if you look at cash rates, it's still a great use of points. Conrad's 120,000 points a night now, so 480,000 with the 5th night free. If you're buying points, you can get. I know right now you can get Hilton points for a half cent each. Hilton limits you maybe to 360,000 points purchased per year, but Hilton is the easiest program to combine accounts. So if your spouse, if your kids, you can buy points for them, and then you can merge them all into one account. So even if you can't buy enough to get you that 5th night free and you want to go to the Conrad, by all means, just put it on someone else's account. You can online, you don't have to call them or anything, and you can move those points from one account to the other. You'll have enough points to stay. So, $2,400 for 5 nights at the Conrad Maldives is an absolute bargain.
Right.
Absolute bargain.
Absolutely.
They were the first to have, I was going to say, they were the first to have the underwater restaurant as well.
And if you've got dining status with Hilton, you
right.
get the breakfast. Okay, good. So I hope that
Correct.
question earlier regarding combining points or buying points as well, right? That question. Okay. All right. Okay. Continue.
Okay. We've done the Hyatts. We've done 2 of the Hiltons. I think we just have Marriott and Waldorf Astoria left. Okay. So next I would put the Westin. The Westin, I'm going to say, was my most pleasant surprise. I expected nothing from it. I knew nothing about the brand. I'd stayed in 1 or 2 of them before. And this boundless card with the 50,000 point certificates, that's what I used them on. I stayed 5 nights at the Westin. And the Westin, we showed up not knowing anything, and we were just overwhelmed by how nice it was. We weren't expecting much, and they blew it away. The villa they gave us was fantastic, overwater villa. I used Sweet Night upgrades to do this, but it was a fantastic overwater villa. The food was excellent. It was a la carte breakfast, but it was excellent. It was healthy. It was a totally unique menu. Their fitness program was excellent. They had a happy hour that wasn't complimentary, but the prices were reasonable. Like you could get drinks. You could get a glass of wine for $6 in the Maldives.
Right.
You can't find that anywhere. That's incredible value. And they just did so many things well. They weren't quite luxury, but they're very, very close. And for the value, and if you look at cash prices, if you look at point prices, you're still getting some pretty good value out of the Westin. And I would tell people, if you can't afford the 130,000 points to go to the Ritz Carlton, you should go to the Westin for about half that price, and you'll be very happy at the Westin.
Yeah, because whenever I look at the Sheraton, the Le Méridien, and the Westin, they're always neck and neck as far as pricing. I'm looking them randomly between 41,000,
Yeah.
and the Westin again randomly in the month of October, 59,000 points, and the Le Méridien is 50,000 points, which means that the Sheraton and the Le Méridien you could easily get and use those 50K certificates. And if we're able to truly top off those certificates, then you could easily do that with the Westin as well. So
yeah, the Westin's great. I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I didn't expect to. I skipped over one way back, and this was going to be the big surprise, and it just went right over my head when I was just thinking of the Marriotts. I would put where I put the JW, one step above the JW, I put the St. Regis.
Oh, wow.
And no one can believe that. The St. Regis is a 5-year-old resort, and they are going into renovation right now. It seems like it's a 25-year-old resort. What I didn't like about it, we were in an overwater villa, and anything that was happening outside your room, you heard. When a cart was going over the bridge, it sounded like it was, a bump, 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 bump. You just heard everything. I wasn't impressed. If I put it like this, it's good I just talking about the Westin. If the Westin was at the St. Regis, I'd say, okay, that's what I expect from the Westin. If the St. Regis was at the Westin, I'd say, wow, this is really great. Just like I talked about it. St. Regis, way overpriced. Way overpriced. Our butler was great, good friend of mine. My best friend in the Maldives is his older brother. The staff was great. The food was great. I like the chef. But for what you're paying, it's ridiculously overpriced. If the St. Regis was $700-800 a night, if the St. Regis was 60,000 points a night, I'd have no problem with it. I'm just giving that rating based on the price they charge.
Gotcha.
Okay, I think we're down to the last three.
Yeah.
The next one's a surprise. The W. The W has never been a brand I really cared for, and everybody in the Maldives who knows the Maldives, I'm talking about the locals, when they found out I was going to the W, they all told me the same thing. They go, "You're not going to like it." So I'm going in with this impression. I'm not going to like it. I get there. It was near flawless. The villa was great, overwater villa. The staff was great. The value was good. I paid 70,000 points per night, 5th night free. And what they do there, they have a program that I think is called Anytime, Anywhere, Anything, Anytime is what it's called. Anything, Anytime. Anything you can think of that would make you happy, you call this number or you send them on an app, and they do it for you. So for example, I was at breakfast one day and it was cloudy when I went to breakfast, and then the sun came out. And so I'm sitting there at my breakfast table, I'm talking to the staff, love the staff there, great people. And I go, anything, anytime. I said, "Hey, I left my sunglasses in my villa on the desk when you walk in. Can someone go get them and bring them to me at breakfast so when I walk back, I got my sunglasses?" 5 minutes later, my sunglasses are there. That's the kind of service they give happily.
Nice.
And the thing we loved about it, we loved the pool that came with the villa, and then we loved they had an outdoor speaker system. And so we could listen to our music. I could chat on the computer. I was standing in the pool, and they really try hard. They may not have the newest facility. It is a bit older, but they try really hard, and they definitely make up for in service what they lack in facility. That would be number 3. Down to the last 2. This is a tough choice. This is a really tough choice, but number 2 is the Ritz Carlton. Ritz Carlton is a brand that is fairly new to me. The first one I stayed at was Half Moon Bay in California. I did not care for it. I did not care for it because of the staff. The property itself is beautiful. The views are beautiful, the golf course, all this. The town outside Half Moon Bay, very nice. But Half Moon Bay staff at the Ritz Carlton, unless you're not from Beverly Hills or you're not, playing basketball for Golden State, they don't care about you. Yeah, they don't care about you. And so I was really hesitant to go to another Ritz Carlton, especially when they don't give you breakfast. This one does not give you breakfast. You have to pay for it, no matter your status. I stayed Ritz Carlton, 70,000 points a night. Now the rooms are going from 100 to 130, and probably next year they're going to go even higher. Almost everything about the property is perfect otherwise, other than not getting the breakfast. The one thing I didn't care for is the boat ride to get there is $750 round trip, and it's not a nice boat. If you go to the Waldorf Astoria, you're on a yacht. I mean, literally a yacht with a butler. When you're going to the Ritz Carlton, you're on a speedboat that could double as a scuba boat. Now, that I was there right when it opened. I think it opened in July of last year. I was there in September of last year. The general manager was great, doing some really innovative things for the Maldives. Hotels, I think, getting in this trend of doing the same thing as other hotels. They do what customers want and expect. But this guy was a real innovator, and he had been a GM, never for a chain hotel before, but he had been a GM at the Maldives. And so instead of having like managers reception, drinks, hors d'oeuvres, things like that, he had managers fishing trip.
Oh, wow.
And he actually invited us to go out and go fishing. And for me, that's not what I want to do, but I gave him a lot of credit. I said, that is really a cool idea. I really appreciate your innovation. It happened to rain the night we did it, and so we got the manager's reception inside with cocktails. It ended up working good for me.
Good.
The staff was great. The villa was great. Prices are very high. It's a resort. You can visit the Patina, which is another brand new resort. It's in a complex. You have to go by boat between them. But everything else about the Ritz Carlton was top level, perfect. The sommelier, one of his things, he said, I sit here and do nothing all day. So he took it on himself, got permission, and said, I want to have private wine tasting for all our elite guests. So if you're Platinum, Titanium Ambassador, you got to have a private wine tasting with him. And it was so funny the day we went, we tasted 3 glasses of wine. And he was showing us, he goes, this glass, it was an empty glass. He goes, this champagne glass, he goes, costs $120. And he's like, he's polishing it, and he broke it. It was the funniest thing. I go, you're in trouble. He goes, nah, we got lots of them. But those kind of personal touches that they do at the Ritz Carlton make things really nice. It's like you get a free afternoon tea if you're an elite guest. You do get the overwater villa upgrade if you're an elite guest, even though you're booking the beach villa. And like when it comes the afternoon tea and say, I don't really like this stuff, they go, what would you like? We'll get you something else you want to eat. We don't want to give you stuff you don't want to eat. So just make some small substitution off the menu. They brought me the menu, and they basically said, just choose a couple appetizers. And I said, okay, give me chicken fingers and fries. They're like, yeah, no problem. They go, you want that every day? I said, yeah, sure. Okay. You don't want to try like a kebab wrap? Okay, I can try that too. And they really tried so hard to make you happy. It's a beautifully designed villa. It's probably the most intelligently designed villa I've ever seen. It's not exceedingly large, but what I like about it is when you come in from the ocean, you come in from the pool, that you actually go through the shower before you get back into the villa. So you get all the sand off you, you get all the salt water rinsed off, chlorine, whatever. It's brilliant the way they design it. This is another place that does the mini bar, and you tell them how you want it stocked. Every day they restock the mini bar, some nuts, some cookies, some non-alcoholic drinks. That's also a really nice feature, especially because you don't get breakfast. The breakfast is really something that bothers me. If you're paying cash, the cash rate is crazy. It's like $3,000 a night, but it's a stunning property. And even when you consider what the cash rate is, even if you are paying 100,000 points a night, you're still getting good value, especially if you get that 5th night free. So the grand prize goes to the Waldorf Astoria. It's my favorite hotel in the world. I have been there 3 times. I've stayed about 25 nights there. I've always stayed on points. This is another property that I think the base rooms go for about $2,500 a night. The points now on the Waldorf are $150,000 a night. But if you consider $2,500 a night times 5, that's $12,500, or 600,000 points, which again you can purchase. So you can purchase those points for $3,000, and you can get $12,500 worth of hotel.
Exactly.
So that's a great way to do it. The problem is finding availability. very hardest booking to make anywhere with Hilton is the Waldorf Astoria Maldives. And I've gotten lucky. I've been able to book 5, 10 nights in a row a couple of times. Closer in bookings, it's possible to get that 150,000. But even if you find 5 nights in a row, one of those nights will be like 1,000,000 points. And it's near impossible unless you get very, very lucky. I was experimenting with a couple things, booking one night, cancel them all at once and trying to get the 5 put together. I wasn't successful getting that done.
Right.
You just have to get really lucky. But again, that's my favorite hotel in the world. Massive villas, massive swimming pools, fantastic service. They've got a bunch of restaurants. They've got like 12 restaurants. Breakfast is included, one of the best breakfasts in the world. Real champagne, not just sparkling wine and Prosecco, real champagne. And the you get a happy hour 4 to 5 every night if you're gold or diamond. And it's just, it's the most flawless experience you can imagine. And I always tell people this, the yacht ride over there is more exciting than staying in the villa.
Right.
That's how nice the yachts are. These yachts are like $5 million yachts. And you got it to yourself. There's a bedroom. I said that wrong. You don't have it to yourself. You share. But if you get lucky, if there's no other arriving flights, you got it to yourself. And what's neat about it, as soon as you come out of the airport and they collect your luggage, they're already calling the yacht. They've got like 7 or 8 of these yachts.
Right.
And as soon as you get to the waterfront, one of them's pulling up to get you. And you can have champagne on the yacht. They've got all kinds of snacks and drinks and everything on the yacht. And it's so much fun to be there. It really is. I go to breakfast at 6:30 in the morning. I look at the stars on the way. I stay till 11. All my friends working there know me.
That's a
They
long.
serve me champagne till noon. Yeah, half my day is at breakfast. So
Before we end that segment with the Waldorf, Ankit Patel just asked, 5 nights at 1.2 million. So that's around 220,000 points per night.
I'm thinking it's 1.2 million per night. Because the rates jump up. If you're not getting 150,000, the next price point of the Waldorf is something like 900,000, and maybe now it's 1 million. I don't know. No, I wouldn't buy points here. Actually, it would be much better at cash if it's 1.2 million points per night. If it's 1.2 million points for 5 nights, and Jason's math says what? That's 200 about 240.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, you're paying $1,200 a night for a $2,500 a night hotel, so you're getting it at half price. So yeah, it would be a good. But I think it's actually probably 4.8 million for 5 nights. That'd be my guess.
Right. Okay. So
Okay.
So going back, I mean, I'd like to close this segment as far as, because there's a lot of aspirational places here, like the Conrads and the Waldorf. I mean, and those obviously you have to have a lot of points or purchase points, etc. But for those folks who are still starting out, right? Because when I think of that Marriott Boundless card right now, we're talking about the one that gives you the 50K certificates. And when I look at their website, it's the W, perhaps the Méridien and the Sheraton. Which of those 3 would you say pick this?
The W is going to be more. The W's above 70,000. It would be the Westin.
The Westin. I mean, not the W.
You know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Westin. I prefer the Westin to Le Méridien, but if you can get the Le Méridien 10,000 points cheaper than the Westin, I would probably advise people to do the Le Méridien. But for me, even without credit cards, even if you just want to buy points, I think we didn't talk about the Hilton. It's not open yet. It's going to be open in a couple of months, but the Hilton's going to be 110,000 points per night in an overwater villa. The Conrad's 120,000. I'll tell you about the Hilton next year. I just don't know anything about it right now, but I would say you're better off buying Hilton points and going that route and getting a cheap gold status with a Surpass card. Plus the Surpass card is going to get you usually 150,000 points with the sign up bonus. If you want to do this boundless, Le Méridien, if it's 10,000 points cheaper, if it's just a couple thousand points different, I prefer the Westin, but I think people would be very, very happy at Le Méridien.
Good, good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Drew, I've taken so much of your time over.
Yeah, I think they're going to give me a bill because I went 15 minutes over. I'm going to have to be really nice to them and go compliment the front office manager again. So
I really thank you. You know, I value your friendship. And folks, Drew and I have never met face to face other than this. And I don't know where. I'm sure we'll meet. We tried to watch Hamilton together a couple of years ago, but the pandemic hit, and so I'm sure Drew and I will meet one of these days. But I do appreciate those folks who tuned in and joined, etc. And so thank you for joining. I am going to try and document this because I think it's a good way to say the top 15 resorts or top 12, whatever. You know, we can put something together. So Drew, again, thank you for joining, and
sure.
We'll get together again. I'm sure you and I will. All right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Remember, next time IHG, I'm gonna try to get to several Six Senses properties next year.
Yeah.
And that's another absolute steal if you're buying points to be able to stay at Six Senses via IHG's program.
Right. Yeah.
So something to look for.
All
right.
Definitely pick your brain. All right, guys. Thank you. Have a great week.
Take care.
All right. Thanks, Drew.
Bye-bye.